believe music is my life, but I've grown to now realize life is music.
Wow.
It's
I think if you have an open mind and you want to grow in life, you want to progress in life, you constantly have to be looking around. You will find. I don't think you have to walk up to someone to get inspired. Somehow you will be able to spot those people and you will notice those traits, those things about them which you feel, you get inspired by and which motivate you.
There has to be a flavor to what you do with your music, which has your stamp, which is you.
How do you unwind after a long day?
Cycling.
Oh,
I love to. Yeah. I have music in my ears and I just cycle around. That's how I unwind.
Hi, Nithya, and welcome to the About Her show. This is a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us, to tell us about their successes, failures, challenges, ups and downs, all of it. And so this way, not only do they get a platform to showcase themselves, but then they also help us inspire other women who are listening in, who also have dreams and ambitions, but for some reason are not able to, pursue them. And of course, we also get men on the show who champion such women. So a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be on your platform. I did happen to go through some of your podcasts. They're very trailblazing, as are the women that you interview. And it's wonderful because these kind of platforms are not just recognition for the work we do, but it's also a voice, a platform to speak about a lot of things that can be of relevance and of use to a lot of women out there. So thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
More than
it's a privilege.
So let's get started. Like an icebreaker. So could you tell us a little bit about your early life, your childhood, and if you feel that any of those experiences from those days, they helped shape your personality or, make you the kind of person that you are today?
Well, I say this quite often to people when I just, talk to them or when I address my audiences. We're all like clay, when we start off. It's just like a smooth, soft clay. And every little experience that we go through is like a thumbprint. So by the time you reach your 40s or 50s, you have a beautiful, sort of artifact, which have a lot of interesting thumbprints. So I can say very confidently that every single experience that I've had, starting from when I was born to now, everything has shaped me for who I am today.
Yeah.
I was born in Delhi, brought up in Chennai, a mecca of classical music. You can imagine the kind of influences that surrounded me. I was born into a musically inclined family. There was music on both sides. My mother's side had connoisseurs and performers and composers. And my father's side were primarily connoisseurs of music. So they had both the ear and the voice for it. So I think I can very humbly thank God for having given a little bit of those genes on both sides. So music came early to me and easily to me. So I mean, again, it's a constant feeling of gratitude for that, because I really think it's something one has to treasure and cherish.
Yeah.
And it was treasured and cherished even by my family and by the school that I went to. My school in Chennai was very, very encouraging of the fine arts, and they gave a lot of impetus to students and children who had affinity for the fine arts, especially music and dance. So I keep relating this incident. I was about 5 years old. I was sitting on my mother's lap, and the electricity was out, as it often happens in Chennai, and it was really hot summer evening. And my mother was humming, and this was at a time when my mom didn't know that I could sing. So she was rocking me on her lap, and she was singing something, and I automatically started humming what she was singing. And she said, "You know what? That actually sounds quite nice. Let me get you started on some music classes." And that's how the journey began. So it's been a long journey since. I grew up under the aegis of a lot of wonderful gurus, some of them Padma Shri awardees. I got under the aegis of a lot of very, very big veterans during my school years, because my school, like I said, had a lot of placed a lot of importance to music. So I mean, my early years can be encapsulated in short,
Wonderful.
like this.
So you so rightly said that, you are like clay, and every experience that you go through, obviously it leaves an impression and shapes your personality. So, of course, so you decided, or I mean, you got to know that you were musically inclined very early on in age. And so, of course, I'm sure that you must have faced challenges along the way when you wanted to pursue this, which could be because of the stream that you chose, or the challenges could also be there because of your gender. So could you tell us a little bit about any of those challenges that you faced?
Absolutely. So, so two very important contexts that you have set. One is the kind of profession that it is, and of course the challenges that come up with us being women, or let's say the female gender. Let me get to the first aspect first. So yes, music is classical music is not a very organized profession, in India. So it's parents, not just mine, but any parent would not perceive that as a very stable career for a child, and one would rather have that as a mainstream hobby or passion rather than as a mainstream career. So yes, that was a conundrum even I had, let alone, let's not talk just about parents, but even I had that, let's say, misgiving that, I can't make it a full-time career because I don't know how it will go. There's a talent surplus in this country, and it's not an organized field. So I actually dabbled in a lot of other professions before I landed up in music. I was in advertising for a few years. I was a professional photographer. I had my own photography practice, and then Providence would have it, the calling just kept calling out to me, and then it had to be music. It had to eventually be music. So yes, the consideration was the viability, the commercial viability, the sustainability of this as a career. It did the rounds in my mind even more than anybody else. Fortunately, my parents were very open about letting me choose what I want to choose, as long as I found my footing and stood on my own 2 feet. So that was really the only criteria for them. But for me, obviously, a stable job felt more secure initially. But like I said, the calling kept calling out to me. And eventually, about 15, 16 years ago, I said, this is it. I mean, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. I'm going to make a profession out of it. I'm going to make my passion my full-time occupation. And because I can't bear to be away from music any longer. So that was the first part of it. In terms of gender, so, about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I would say life was a little more challenging because of us as women, because I think we came from middle-class conservative families, which had a certain notion of the right age to get married, the right age to have children, the right age to, and the right kind of profession that will sort of balance out with your spouse, all of those things. So I can't say it was an extremely conservative household, absolutely not, but it was an average middle-class household. And so these expectations were very sort of subliminal, and it was sort of, so the relevance of gender came in that context of this typical middle class household, which had these stereotypes. And those stereotypes tend to get internalized even by the child. It's very difficult to break out of it after. I mean, it takes a while to realize that actually, what, the world is my stage and I can do whatever I want. It takes some time for you to come into your own, let's say. So so I can't say there were very specific challenges as in terms of this particular challenge or point A, point B. But overall, the context was one which was, let's tread safe. It has to be a safe profession. It has to be stable. It has to be something that will allow you to move in case you get married. All of these things. So, though it was not explicitly spoken about, it was an unsaid, it was just the norm, So I can say that I grew into my own as I grew up and I grew older, You actually grow wings as you grow older, because you just realize the stereotypes don't really hold anymore. They're not relevant and they don't hold. And another big thing that has happened to all of us, I think, once the internet and social media came, and it has just opened our minds and our worlds.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
see stories of so many people who have done so many things, and they're trailblazers, and nothing has held them back.
Yeah,
So then your mind opens up to staggering possibilities that have nothing to do with your gender.
correct.
Absolutely nothing to do. They have absolutely nothing to do with who you are. It's just about your mind and what you have to offer to the world. And
Yeah.
that's really the only thing. And this is something I think, evolved and grown into this mindset that,
Yes,
gender is just, it's beyond the point. It's just a biological context, let's say.
absolutely. It is.
You need to know your biology to go to a doctor. It probably starts and ends there. After that, what you contribute to the world is absolutely asexual. So I have grown to realize that, and I touch wood, have a support system that supports this view, and I can say that it has decreasingly become a factor in my life.
Yeah. See, actually, there are a host of factors, I think, which play a role in this. Your own mindset is one. I mean, whatever stereotypes you've grown up with, whatever you've internalized, you gradually, with age and with maturity, you do come to realize. And also that willingness to break out of that mold also has to be there. And plus, of course, the support system has to be there. You can't do it on your own. You need like-minded people around you who will support you and cheer you up, when you're out. So I think all of these factors together, they make a lot of difference. Yeah. And of course,
Absolutely.
the gender difference is there, like the physical difference in terms of, we being, yes, physically weaker is there, but then there are other ways to, make up for that, and more than make up, as I, like to put it. All right.
Absolutely. And that's not the only criteria, is it? I
Absolutely.
mean, physical strong is in a certain context of
Yes.
physical ability that's required for certain things.
Yes. You don't need it everywhere.
Forbearance and patience is a different context altogether, and that's our strength.
Absolutely. So, Nithya, if you were to look back on your life, would you think that there was anyone who, like now, stands out as somebody who mentored you, or were there many people who guided you, inspired you? I mean, how would you say, or how would you respond to this?
Inspiration is such a big teacher. You have to be really inspired by someone, something, for you to actually want to grow and evolve and become bigger than what you were before.
Absolutely.
So I can say very confidently that there have been tons of people who have inspired me in small, big, consistent and fleeting in so many ways. My gurus, my parents. Let me start with my mother. My mother is an extraordinarily patient and a person who embodies forbearance. She's herself very much into music. She loves to sing. She didn't quite make it a profession. She was a teacher, but she loved to sing, and the kind of single-minded dedication she had while she was bringing me up to make sure music was there in my life, and that my talent found it's so inspiring. And I want and the kind of mother I am today is a lot influenced by the mother I had and I have. So I think that's your first exposure to an inspiring figure, right? Your mother. So she continues to inspire me, and the kind of like you very correctly pointed out, men have their strengths. They have physical strength. They have physical prowess. Women have forbearance and patience, and that can be a lot stronger sometimes, than just physicality. And I could see that actually play out when I see my mother. I still see it play out. So she's been my first big inspiration, let's say. And then a lot of people after that, my gurus, my friends, people that I read about, the biographies that I read. It could be an Einstein, it could be Sadhguru, it could be Deepak Chopra, it could just be a professor that taught me. There are people who have touched me. Again, they are thumbprints to the clay that I. And they've inspired me in so many ways, and I continue to. And I look to be inspired. I love the feeling of being inspired because it's the best way that I learn. So even today, and I hope even when I'm 80 or 90, I would want to have people around me that make me think, make me want to do more. So all my gurus have inspired me in so many different ways. There's one guru that I would like to mention here. Srimati Dhanushi Pandit Rai, because of whom I took up music full time. You know, that was that turning point when I left my other professions and decided music. She said something which was outstanding. She said, Nithya, if you don't take up music full time and give it its due justice, down the line, you're going to feel a dagger in your heart. That's how she said it. You're going to feel a dagger in your heart. It's like, it's the worst thing you can do to yourself, because if you're born with a talent, you should let it flower and let it blossom. So she's been a big turning point. And all my other gurus who still teach me, Ashok Ji, Srimati Usha Deshpande Tikekar, Srimati Tara Vijayaraghavan, all of these people are inspiring in so many ways. And many of them are just so humble and so behind the scene. And yet they're big heroes and heroines. So they're not covered in magazines, they're not talked about, but they're just such inspiring people. Yeah. So to put it in a nutshell, all of these people, and it continues, all these people, and even very random people inspire me as we speak, you know. Even my daughter inspires me. My daughter, and you know, her personality is so different from mine. When I look at her and say, my God, there's a way to be that's not the way I've been all my life. So yes, I thrive on inspiration. It's one of the biggest ways that I learn, and I love to be inspired by kids, by old people, by men, women, achievers, ordinary people who live extraordinary lives.
It's true, actually, you know, it's a continuous process. You can't like get inspired today and tomorrow you say, okay, I don't need any inspiration. I think if you have an open mind and you want to grow in life, you want to progress in life, you constantly have to be looking around. You will find. I don't think you have to walk up to someone to get inspired. Somehow you will be able to spot those people and you will notice those traits, those things about them which you feel, you know, you get inspired by and which motivate you. So yeah, that does happen. And I totally agree with you. So tell me, Nithya, someone who wants to get into the space of classical music and they want to succeed, become big names. Quickly, 3 tips that come to the top of your mind that they need to keep in mind if they want to embark on this journey.
Okay. So, like I first said, if you look at it as a profession, it's not a very organized field, you know. Okay. You could become a classical musician who performs and who's known for performing classical music. So there's that performing space. And you know, there are a lot of wonderfully successful people there, and the route to that is just years and years of dedication to the craft of music, to the art of music, to completely follow your guru's footsteps and just let him or her lead your way. So there's that way to do it. There are other ways that one can interpret a profession in music. You know, it doesn't have to be only singing. So singing can be a part of a larger battery of things that you can offer people. So the other thing is teaching and imparting. So that's another way to make a profession out of it, where you're going out there and sharing the music that you've learned and allowing people to learn the craft and art and take away whatever they want. And there are so many other new ways to interpret success in classical music. You know, now the way I have tried to interpret it for myself, it would be a little presumptuous to say that I have arrived or succeeded. I would never want to say that. Even if I have a lot more accolades come my way, I would not want to say that, because then that would be sort of like a plateau, and I don't want to reach plateaus. Yeah. But even if I were to look back and say I have achieved something, I have tried to integrate the music that I sing and the music that I have learned with who I am as a person. You know, there has to be a flavor to what you do with your music, which has your stamp, which is you, which has the fragrance of your experiences, your personality, your temperament, how you interact with people. And I used to believe music is my life, but I've grown to now realize life is music. You know, it's you know, music is there in everything, and every single life experience you have. It could just be a travel to a certain place or meeting a certain person. The way it changes you as a person will affect the music you sing, and will affect what you do with the music you sing, and the music that you offer the world. So, you know, I have interpreted success in a very, very, let's say, a broad way, and that's how it should. Now, if you're asking me, what would I tell a person who's a budding classical musician?
Yeah.
First, you need to know what you want to do with the music. Do you want to perform? Do you want to impart? Do you want to set the music that you do in a larger context or larger philosophical context, like what I have attempted to do with putting music in a spiritual and a wellness space? Or would you just want to hone the craft and just go to the heights of excellence in the craft? One has to be very clear what your path is.
Okay, all right.
Once you have that path ready, so clarity is the first thing, and that clarity doesn't necessarily always happen just like that. You can grow into being more clear about what you want to do. And for me, that's been the journey. I never really knew exactly what I wanted to do with music. I knew I loved music, but now it's crystallizing into music being set in a context where I can infuse what I am into the music that I'm giving, making it inclusive, setting it in a wellness context, setting it in the context of mindfulness, spirituality. These are things, flavors that I can give to the music that I sing. So, but this clarity is not necessarily there initially. Children and youngsters may start to believe that they want to sing and perfect the craft, and down the line, certain life experiences may infuse a different philosophy behind the music. So yes, some amount of clarity should be there, a lot of hard work.
Of course.
Whatever that context is, you have to work hard to make it happen. Trials will come your way, challenges will be there, and those are welcome because they're again thumbprints on your personality. And I think it's important to have a lot of humility. When I say humility, I mean it in a sort of, it's a slightly nuanced way that I'm referring to you. It's not about, oh, I'm not so great, I'm always learning. It's not that. It's about genuinely saying that there's just too much to learn. And I'm just here out there absorbing. And in the process of absorbing and assimilating, I'm imparting and I'm giving back to society.
Wow.
And that giving back is what is my profession, is what is my occupation. But I'm still always absorbing, learning, growing. That is the humility that has to be there, not only in the pursuit of the craft of music, but also as a person. So when a classical musician grows, he or she should keep in mind that they're human beings first, and then musician. So the struggles and pains and travails of human beings cannot be kept independent of the music that they're singing. So this is my take. Again, it's my humble take. Somebody else may have a different take, and that may be equally valid. But this has been my, this is what I would like to tell young musicians. Have clarity, have a lot of hard work, and have a lot of humility.
I think, these are the kind of things which you would need. I mean, of course, there could be other things, but like you said, clarity, hard work, how can you find a substitute for it? I mean, what is it that you want to do? It is that, identifying that purpose in this space, that is so essential. And then, of course, that humility, because like they say, you are a lifelong learner. Learning never stops. So here or anywhere else, you can never believe that I know it all. Nobody ever knows it all. You just keep learning and keep evolving and growing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nithya, we all have these two sides to our lives, the personal and the professional. And it's always, a struggle to balance the two. And I don't think we can ever perfect it. But I feel that as far as women are concerned, the balance becomes slightly more difficult because we are expected to do, in terms of our family and other responsibilities, more than men have to. So in your life, how have you tried, or how do you try to strike this balance?
Very well put. I would even go to the extent of saying more than others expecting that out of us, we tend to expect that out of ourselves.
Definitely.
We want to do it all. We want to be the perfect mom. We want to have a profession. We want to run a beautiful home. We want to have guests over. We want to travel. We want to be there for our husbands. We want to be there for our in-laws. Everything. We want it all. I think that's where sometimes the problem arises, wanting it all and wanting it perfect. I think one of the biggest challenges for me in trying to traverse this balancing act was, in fact, I would say confidently that I've come to a much better space now, is wanting to have it all perfect. That's not going to help us. That's not going to help us at all. So the idea of perfect first has to be shed and replaced with fulfillment, happiness, presence, fullness of experience. These are the words that have to replace this whole notion of perfect. Perfect mom, perfect wife, perfect professional. Doesn't exist. Even if you didn't have balancing acts, it doesn't exist. Even if music is the only thing I did, I can never be perfect. So again, humility. There's a humility in accepting that, one can never be perfect and there's no such thing as perfection. It's all in our heads. So the biggest tool to balancing life is to shed that expectation of perfection from ourselves and from the world around us.
Okay.
Even others are not going to be perfect in giving you tarif and saying, oh, you're amazing. You're done a fabulous job. They are flawed just as you are. Every human being has his strengths and stretches. So expecting validation from outside is another sort of setting yourself up for failure, So expecting validation should be internalized as far as possible.
Okay.
Try and define success in a realistic way. Within the constraints that I had, did I do my best? With the challenges that I have, is this the best that I can achieve?
Yes.
Have I done the most of my day despite having a backache or having a headache or having my daughter scream and having a tantrum? Within that, have I done my best? So this is this whole shedding this idea of perfection. So I have moved away from expecting perfection out of myself to having a more realistic expectation of what I want from each of the roles that I do. And if you apply this paradigm and shed the perfection paradigm, you will find yourself succeeding every single day. Because women are so resilient. Women are so, like I said, the forbearance and patience is our biggest strength. We are able to handle so much because of the ability to just bear and power through despite challenges. So that itself is a big achievement. So I think balancing comes from being able to successfully balance, comes from being kind to yourself, being realistic in your expectation, shedding notions of perfection, and finding fulfillment in every single thing that we do, rather than perfection. So I've attempted to do that, and I still apply that paradigm, and it's working much better for me than the perfection paradigm.
I'm sure. Because I think ultimately, if you're able to look yourself in the mirror and answer this question, that if despite all the challenges that I faced today, was I able to do what I could have done? I think that is it. You don't have to aim for perfection because, like you said, there's nothing which is perfect. So rather than trying to do everything, the best in the best possible way, try to get things done. I think that is, better. And that I think it leaves you with a feeling of fulfillment, your confidence, all of those things. I think, they really get a boost if you do
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again, we live life and, there are ups and downs and moments and setbacks that we all have to face. And of course, women do have that ability to, the resilience and the patience that you talked about. But still, sometimes, it is difficult to cope with a setback. So how do you do that if you were to face such a situation?
I look at setbacks like a storm. If I were to find an analogy to describe a setback, it's like a storm. If you're standing in a storm, in the middle of a storm, what would you want to keep you stable? Something to hold on to, an anchor, something that is rooted in the ground and can't be uprooted, and you hold on to that. Correct? That's how you save yourself from being blown away from a physical storm. I would apply the same analogy for emotional storms or life storms. You have to have anchor. And that anchor has to be built when the storm is not there.
Okay.
Because when the storm comes, the anchor is deep and rooted, and you're already stable and you're steady, like a banyan tree. A tree is strong because it has built its roots when the storm was not there.
Right.
So I believe that I mean, obviously, when the storm comes, when you're not still ready for it, when you're still growing, it can kind of throw you about. there can be all kinds of storms, emotional storms, career difficulties, family issues, health, sudden changes in the way that the world perceives you. The world has thrown challenges at you. So many ways and shapes and sizes that challenges come.
Yeah.
When it comes, when you're not prepared, it does toss you about a bit, and that usually happens when you're younger and less experienced. And it also happens when you have fixed notions about things which are very, very basic.
Yeah.
And the challenge feels like a knock, because it's throwing that old paradigm out of the way, and it's forcing you to make a new paradigm for yourself.
Yeah.
But as you grow, and as each time when a challenge comes, your root slowly starts to go deeper and deeper. You just realize that the anchor is very important, and the anchor comes from, for me, has come from meditation, from connections with people, from friends and family, from deep conversations with people that you trust, long friendships, cultivating habits that have nothing to do with your success and failures. Like, I don't need to be successful to meditate. I don't need to be successful to just sit and sing and do my riyas.
Yeah.
Those are my anchors. So if you have strong anchors, habits that can nourish you, can make you feel centered, you can weather storms a lot more easily. And that's how I've been attempting to do it.
Very well said. Because, like, if the building has a strong foundation,
absolutely,
then it will be able to withstand.
It's unlikely to be toppled.
True. All right. So, well, we are females, and we, in some way, we are role models when it comes to younger girls, younger women. So if you were to offer a few pieces of advice to the young girls of today, who are on the threshold of their personal and professional lives, what would you like to tell them?
Well, I have a daughter who's growing into that age. So, I can relate to this, wondering what would be a role model, what would be something that I would want to say. I think I would go back to the analogy of strong roots. You have to get into the world with a strong sense of self, a strong sense of who you are, a strong sense of confidence in whoever it is that you are, however it is that God has made you, and however it is that life has made you. You have to go into the world. Young girls have to learn to go into the world with a strong sense of, I'm perfectly fine the way I am. Yeah. I'm only going to grow into better versions of myself, rather than saying I'm not okay and I need to change. So you have to grow. So I keep giving this analogy to a lot of people. You can't say a human being is complete only when he or she is an adult, correct? Yeah. A child is complete in itself. A baby is beautiful because it's a baby. A toddler is beautiful because it's a toddler. A teenager is beautiful with his or her growing pains because he's a teenager. You can't skip those stages and say, I want to become an adult, and that's the only way. So you have to be happy with the way you are, with the place you are in, as a person, in the continuum of spiritual growth. Wherever you are is complete in itself. It doesn't mean that you can't become better and have better versions of yourself. True. But the way to that being better cannot be by criticizing who you are now and saying, I'm not adequate until I get there. So young girls have to get into the world, first feel very happy and confident about whoever it is they are, while still having an openness and humility to learn and grow. So that would be the biggest asset for them. And that can be inculcated in them with the right parenting, of course, and encouraging children to kind of find their own feet as they grow up. I still have a growing daughter, so I can't say whether I have nailed it. We'll get to see that.
But I'm hoping is a lifelong struggle.
Yeah, it's not going to end any time. It's never going to end. My mom still worries and calls me, and she's still worried about me at 70. But I mean, if I can send my daughter into the world with a strong sense of satisfaction about who she is, and yet with an openness to keep growing and learning, I think that's an asset that girls can lean on.
Yeah. And where would you place financial independence in the scheme of things?
Everything. I think financial independence is good for any human being. Forget about, I don't think gender is even a subject here. It's obviously more openly expected out of men because they're the quintessential providers and they need to settle down and they need to have family. But it's all passé now. It's an asexual world. It's an asexual world now, and you are there to give the world something.
Yeah.
The fact that you're a woman or a man beyond a point shouldn't and doesn't matter. So when you're here to give the world something, you're also there to get something from the world for yourself, including financial independence, including an identity which is not related to your gender. What you can do, what is the craft that you bring in, what is the asset that you bring in what way can you make the society better? That's the question. And therefore, financial independence is important for every single living thing, I would say. I mean, if animals had had prerogative, I would say that there should be financial independence too, but of course not. But I'm just saying, any human being has to have financial, and it just really doesn't matter who you are. I think that age of let's get her married to someone who's financially secure so that he'll provide for her, long gone.
Long gone. I agree.
Not relevant.
Not relevant anymore. So of course, you still find girls who become, or women who become complacent, after they get married, or even parents for that matter, you do have. But yes, I think if we start looking at it as something that is a non-negotiable, it is there, it is as natural for a woman as it is for a man. And I think these kind of things are inculcated in girls right from their childhood. I don't think it'll ever be a question, it'll be like, it's like, I mean, it's a reality of life and you have to do it, you have to accept it.
Absolutely. And women who do relinquish that independence, even for some time, suppose they're having a baby or they want to take some time off, it has to be a conscious decision.
Yes.
And it has to be thought about and made willfully with an understanding partner. It shouldn't be because that's the norm and it's expected out of them and there's no other way to look at it. It's a conscious, willful decision of the woman to want to do that, and there's a sense of power and prerogative in that.
Absolutely. So Nithya, when we look around us, we find that women, they're making a mark, a name for themselves in various fields, and it's a big change from how it used to be maybe 20, 30 years ago. But despite that, we still face rather challenges and biases in this world. And I don't think, again, here, a perfect gender equality will ever be achieved. So when you look around you in today's day and age, what are some of the biases or challenges that you see that still exist, despite all that we've done?
Well, to be very honest, I do think that in any field, it's not just in the field that I'm in. There is discomfort when a woman earns more.
Okay.
Like to like, if the work is the same and what you're giving is the same and what you're offering is the same. I don't think pay parity is not seen very well. It's not seen with an eye of, okay, the contribution is the same, so the pay has to be the same.
Yeah.
So there is discomfort around women earning as much or more, and I do see that still exists. There is, I think it's increasingly getting better. I would say it's a positive move that way, but there is some discomfort with like to like. If men and women are doing the same thing, offering the same thing to society, making the same contribution, somehow women don't get paid as much. Or if they do get paid as much or more, there is a lot of discomfort around it.
Okay.
There is that, trailblazing women who made their own path in professions which are not very organized, like the art, the field of art. People who have managed to make a mark and managed to find space do feel a backlash of resentment from possibly other people in the field who have not done that, who have not been able to do that.
Okay.
Especially because it's a disorganized field, and as it is, it's difficult to kind of find your path and make your profession organized enough to be able to pay you your money. There is some resentment that you might feel from the opposite gender, but I must be very honest also to say that just like when you opened this discussion, when we started this podcast, you did say that you do interview men who are championing.
Yes.
There are a lot of women. While there are enough men out there who do have maybe some difficulty accepting this change of norm that trailblazing women can earn as much or more, but there are a lot of other men who are also championing.
Yeah.
So I can't say it's only this. So yes, there is that tendency that that discomfort, when a woman trailblazes and manages to do something they've not been able to do, does pinch. But I think they're a lot more okay about accepting it now than they would have been, they would have been a lot more brazen about revolting against it, say, 30 years ago. But now there is a grudging acceptance.
Yes, there is.
But you can still feel it, but it's a grudging acceptance because they know it's not going to be taken well by society. People are not going to keep quiet.
Yes.
Because it's now all meritocratic. Where is the problem?
Yeah, where is
contribution is there? Excellence is there.
Qualified and if you're equally skilled, then where is the problem? Yeah,
then where is the problem? So but I do feel sometimes that I do feel you get energies, you get vibes.
You do.
So it's at a vibe level now rather than an overt need to kind of. And I've also noticed that if the person who's receiving this kind of, say, grudging resentment is able to be calm and humble through it and reassure, somehow it appeases them more. If we kind of say, we've done it and, we have arrived and look at you and look at me, it does irk them a little bit more. So being a little gracious about it and being kind about the fact that it can be difficult for the male gender to move paradigms so quickly and being kind about it makes it easier for them to travel and be more generous about their acceptance of you.
See, in any
case, just an observation.
You don't have to do anything, which is in your face. So like you said, be calm and be gentle and be kind because they are also transitioning.
Yes.
Like we all are.
Exactly.
So let's keep that in mind. It's okay. You're doing.
And it's not their fault. It's just an old paradigm.
It is, I think, the society.
Old paradigm.
They've been also raised in a particular way. So you can't really blame them. It's the way we all are. And so for that matter, even we are a certain way. But that's the way we are. We've been raised. So same holds for them. So Nithya, in this context, what do you think or how do you think platforms like these can help maybe push or maybe convince or maybe tell people that there is no difference between genders? It's like you said, just a biological fact of life. And like, as with other things, you don't have to keep throwing it in the woman's face that she's a woman, so she can't do it. So how do you think, these platforms can help in that?
I think you're doing a phenomenal job because, the more voices there are to a cause, the stronger the cause becomes. The more voices there are to attest to something, the stronger the voice becomes, the stronger the cause becomes. So what you are doing by giving us women a platform and the men who champion women a platform is telling the world, let's become an asexual world when it comes to prowess and skill and contribution. Forget the gender. Just forget it. What is it that the person is bringing to the table? How is it impacting society? How does it make your life better? That's the only barometer. And if you can just open your mind to the fact that this human being, woman, man, whatever, is bringing something to the table that's going to make my life better, then it shouldn't matter who's doing it.
Yes.
It shouldn't matter who's doing it.
Yeah.
You see this example and like I said, the more voices there are to attest. So when I come up with the anecdotes on your show about how my life is shaped up and how these things, some other woman listening to this will say, oh, wow, this can happen. Yeah. It gets them opened up to a possibility that their lives may also become like that or may also change for the better.
True.
So it empowers them to be more bold, to be more, to take better risks, to take bigger risks, to be more open about what they want. It emboldens them to try to do something they've not had the courage to do in the past.
Correct.
So platforms like these are so important because they empower a cause by bringing voices by bringing personal experiences out in the open for people to hear and be inspired by. So I think it's a phenomenal thing for you to bring these people together, to have a chat with them, and for people to hear experiences. So I don't know, my experience may be different. Another guest may have a very different experience.
Definitely.
But the learner gets to learn from both. They get to learn from both. And they get inspired in ways that you can't even predict how what you say may be inspiring them. But it may trigger off a positive trajectory in their life. So it's very important to have these conversations, and it's wonderful that you're able to do this and bring these achievers on board. And thank you for that, actually. Thank you for what you're doing for us and for the listeners.
Because I just feel that, this feeling that you get that if she can do it, so can I. I think it's so empowering because she's a woman and she is talking about incidents, or she's talking about instances which I have been through. So if she could come up with this idea of, dealing with those, maybe I could also do the same thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And anecdotes are so important because they make it relatable. It makes it, oh, it's me. It's my life. Oh, I've had the same thing happen to me. And, oh, there's a very different way to deal with it compared to what I've done, So,
Nithya, there's another thing which, a lot of women go through different issues, different challenges, different, transitions in their life, as they grow up. I mean, there's so many things that happen to us in terms of our hormones or our bodies, physical, mental, so many challenges happen. I mean, we have to face, because of which, our mental well-being, our mental health can get affected. Now, of course, if we look around us, there are a number of conversations happening around mental health, and people are more accepting of the fact that this can happen and this needs to be addressed. But do you think women's mental health issues are getting as much attention as that of men's, or you think there is not much of a difference?
Again, it's something very important that we need to realize as women. Since we have a nature which is patient, taking things in, forbearance, we are known for that. It's become a natural mode of being. So because of that, we tend to ignore our own mental health first, more than others do it. It's very, I think women realize later that they're depressed or anxious because they've just been taking it all in and managing to get, to keep the boat afloat. It's not until things have really gone bad that they realize, I really can't be getting. Because we are by nature patient, and we tend to take things, and we are built to do it, because when you bear a child or when you raise a child, you need that patience and forbearance, right? So you're naturally gifted with it. But then what happens is then that cutoff point becomes blurry. You take a lot more than you actually can take. So women's mental health does get affected, and does get affected to a point where sometimes it's a bit too late, and they wake up a little too late, and they're crying out for help when things could have been addressed earlier. I do think that. And secondly, I do think that just the lives that we lead, they're very difficult, Sangeeta. I mean, it's very difficult to manage the kind of challenges that we have today. Especially one of the biggest challenges we face is parenting, right? When, as a mom, the responsibility of bringing up an independent, happy, self-assured child, the challenges are staggering now. With social media and with the identity crisis that teenagers and youngsters are prone to, it's a huge burden and a huge responsibility on the parent. So again, we put the mental health of the child first, because you're worried about his or her mental health, his or her identity. Then through that, over years, there's a lot of piling up of your own anxieties and your own worries that are in the back burner. And you don't get to see them until maybe your child is settled, or until it's too much for you. So yes, there is a neglect. I don't necessarily say the neglect is only from outside. It is from within us. We need to realize it a lot earlier and wake up and take care of ourselves a lot earlier, because if we need to do all the things that we are very ambitious about doing, which is bringing up a nice child, having a wonderful profession, have a wonderful home, a great relationship with your friends and family, you have to have the mental and the physical tools for it. And which means you need to invest time, effort, and attention to your mental and physical health. Which, yes, I think women have to wake up and realize Don't wait till it gets too late.
Yes.
Start preemptively so that you have the energy to do it. You have the mental energy. And music, like this, we do a lot of music. Vruksh, which is my venture, does a lot of workshops on. We've had a lot of premenopausal women, menopausal women come into our workshops because they're coming to look out for a way to kind of calm themselves down. So they should come to music. Music is a fantastic space, and it's an easy space to find that peace and calm and that centered space where you can kind of, assimilate yourself and collect yourself and get back into the duties that you need to get back into. Yeah, to cut a long story short, yes, women do need to step up and they need to realize that they are neglecting their mental health. Do others neglect it? Yes, because we're neglecting it ourselves, so nobody else is going to see it.
Absolutely. They don't, then they won't.
Who's going to see it if you don't see it yourself? I mean, you're doing, everybody's saying, okay, she's doing, we're taking. You have to say, stop, I'm not able to take it, I need my time. And then the world will start seeing, oh yes, this human being also requires space, time to nurture himself, to nurture herself. True. We have to start saying, only then others.
Like they say, charity begins at home. So we really have to start
absolutely
ourselves first.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So which is probably why, which brings me to the next question, is you see a lot of men and women both actually, and women also, some start working in their 40s or start changing professions, or even men do it, and we see this happening a lot more than it was happening earlier, maybe during our parents' times or whatever, which I like to term as midlife rebooting.
Midlife reboot, yes, I just come across that.
So maybe it is because of that also. It's like some women, they just start, like especially during COVID, you saw so many of them taking up, professions, vocations. So maybe that was one of the reasons, and it helped them deal with their mental health issues. But what are your views on this midlife rebooting, when you decide to switch and decide to do something else with your life?
So I look at and so like I said, in our workshops, we've had a lot of middle-aged women coming forth, usually somewhere between 40 and 55, that's the age. And they come because of many reasons. One of the reasons is, either they've got married early, children are grown up. And they're kind of empty nesters because their children have gone off to college. They've not got married, but they've gone off to college. And somehow there's a sudden sense of, what's my life about? I mean, it's always been about his homework, his college admission, her, next job. It's always been about my children. And now the children are gone. What am I? There's a complete sense of vacuum. Who am I? What am I? What have I stood for? I'm already 45, 50. Who am I? There's a complete identity crisis. So there's that segment of women who have completely sacrificed their prime for their children and their family, and then they have a sense of complete vacuum. So there's that category. There are professional women who have worked and who have managed their families, but it has been sort of like a automatic, robotic kind of thing, this promotions, going from one bank to another, one job to another, similar kind of jobs. Again, there's an emptiness because, is this really what I've always wanted to do? And is this a job I've always wanted? I'm capable of so much more. So there's a reboot there. And there's a third kind of reboot, which happens when there's, there's some sort of event, a parent, the parent of the middle-aged person, a woman, is going through some health crisis, or there's a bereavement. There's a catalyst then. The woman says, wow, I've never paid attention to my parents. I've not paid attention to my, to this loved one. And then there's a sudden change of, this is not what I want my life to be. I'm going to change it. So yes, there are different ways these catalysts come in. Whether it could be an empty nester or a person who's suddenly realizing that after 20, 30 years of working, this is not what they wanted to do. And the midlife crisis also hits in because that's a cusp, right? It's perimenopause. There are hormonal changes. It's an inflection point, You're right in the middle of your life. You have equal life left ahead of you as you have behind. So you're kind of looking back and looking forward. I'm like, okay, we are at crossroads now. Do we need to change our paths? So yes, I do think there is something called a midlife reboot. I have seen a lot of women go through this. They go back to something that they've learned in their childhood. A lot of women who come to learn music from us have learned music in the past and have left it for 30 years. And then suddenly they're like, this is such a beautiful thing, and I want to go back to it. and we give them that. So yes, there is something called midlife reboot, and it's important because it's a way to consolidate what your life has been about so far, and it's a way to prepare for the life that you want for yourself in the future. So it's a very important thing, and it's wonderful that people step back and do this, and I think it's only going to help them.
Extremely enriching and fulfilling, because you're filling up those little gaps in your life which you were not able to address earlier. And if I may point out, even I got back to singing after 20 years because I was like, okay, this is something I used to enjoy. So not learning, because I learned classical music as a child, then I gave it up and whatever, life happened. And now, we have these singing groups here. So I, regularly go for all this. So yeah, I do feel that it is, just making my life, like I said, more
happy,
filling and happy, and that's it.
Happy, yeah. And this is actually only about you, right? It's not about performing and earning accolades. It's about you. It's about how you feel. It's about how you come away feeling.
Yes. So Nithya, looking ahead, can you shed some light on your personal and professional aspirations, ambitions for the years to come?
Well, I've been rebooting for a long time now. I mean, I didn't need to reach midlife to reboot. I've been rebooting for a while. I've always kind of dabbled in different things, so I've rebooted a lot. But yes, I think going forward, my deepest aspiration is to be able to contribute to society through my music in a way, like I said, which infuses my personality and what I stand for in the music that I give. It has to move out of just being music for music's sake to music with Nithya's stamp on it,
Wow.
So, and with all the experiences that I've had, things that I would love to share, things that other people can benefit from, I want to infuse all that into whatever it is that I offer through my music, which is why the umbrella venture that I have has so many things. It has classes that we offer. I perform, I sing, I initiate people into me, I do lecture demonstration in whatever format. We do wellness workshops. We do workshops where people come and understand how to use classical music to be well and to be mentally well. So in whatever way the Nithyaness can be infused into the music that I give, I would want that to just keep growing. And that's my professional aspiration. From a personal standpoint, I just want to go deeper into my spiritual journey. I've been meditating for 20 years now. And you just uncovered layers and layers of your psyche and your personality that are just, like treasures that you get to know yourself much deeper. Right. And that process has been very fulfilling, and I want to continue that. And of course, you want your child to be well settled. You want your parents to be healthy. You want to be around all your loved ones, to be there for them and to make sure that, you do your best. So that's what I look for. And I've shared this idea of perfection. And it's all about fulfillment and happiness and presence and being in the moment and doing your best. And that's what I aspire for.
So wishing you all the best. And I'm sure with this kind of mental makeup and thought process, I'm sure you'll get there and you will get everything that you want.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. It's been such an honor to be on your show. And I really hope that
So
rapid fire.
That's now, the rapid fire. Yes. So 5 quick questions and 5 quick answers.
Okay, I'll brace myself.
So an easy one. Your role model in the music world. Do you have any? I'm sure you do.
All my gurus.
So you don't.
I can't even begin to name them. I can't begin to name them. All the gurus that I've taught.
All right. Second, how do you unwind after a long day?
Cycling.
Oh,
I love to. Yeah, I have music in my ears and I just cycle around. That's how I unwind.
Lovely. Next, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Wow, tough one. Fly?
Oh, yeah, all right. Wonderful.
I would love to fly.
All right. So the next most surprising thing you learned about yourself after you became a parent.
Resilience.
All right.
How resilient we are.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know I could be that resilient.
And the last one, do you have any go-to snack or a drink before you go for a performance?
Well, to be very honest,
Uh-huh.
I pop Jashti Madhu because that clears up my throat, and
Okay.
I just love the taste of Jashti Madhu. So it's a herb. It's, now you get it as capsules that you can chew. It's tasty and it clears up my throat. So it's become a snack now, actually. Funnily enough, more than something that is. Yeah, Jashti Madhu, actually. I love it. I just love popping Jashti Madhu. You know what that is, right? Licorice.
Yes. So with that, we come to the end of the show. And of course, it's been absolutely wonderful and delightful. Just like you said, when you listen to somebody else talking, a woman relating her life story, there are so many ways in which you can relate to her, so many ways you can get inspired, because the fact that she belongs to the same gender, has had similar experiences, you just learn to look at life, look at things from a different perspective, a totally different lens, which can be, like I said, so inspiring and so motivating. So thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolute.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And your questions have been thought-provoking even for me. They get my own thought processes going, and I'm going to go away from this interview with lot more new questions that I want to answer for myself. So thank you for that, and thank you for bringing this platform to all those people who are going to be listening to us. Yeah. And possibly, even if one person is positively impacted by this conversation, I think both our jobs are done for today.
I agree. I totally agree with it. More than